I decided I wanted to put a solar arch on the back of my boat. The flexible solar panels which were currently attached to the top of the bimini weren't working well. The flexing of the fabric was causing the solar panels to break, or the joins to break, and they were burning and failing or suffering from little cracks. Also wanted dinghy davits as well to assist with pulling a dinghy out of the water. So I've been watching this YouTube channel, Ryan and Sophie Sailing, and they've got the same boat as I've got, and there was a bit of discussion on what to get. So Ryan wanted the simplest solution. He wanted an arch that just bolted on around the existing railing, and Sophie wanted something with a bit more style, so she wanted to sort of integrate it with the existing hand railing. So they both had a guess at what it was going to cost before they got the quote. Anyway, they got the quote and it came in cheaper than expected, and I think it was at €3,900, and Sophie got to do the integrated arch. So I've copied that one. The start of the design begins with some sticks of wood, a few screws and a bit of gaffer tape, and we basically set up to get the height and the angles and an idea of how it was going to look and whether it was going to hit backstays and those sorts of things. So yeah, this is how we initially got the rough dimensions of it. So here in Melbourne, we're in for some considerable COVID lockdowns, restricting where we could travel, and there's the boat sort of outside that limit for a lot of the time. We had to get all the measurements off the boat and build the solar arch in the garage. So I enlisted help from my friend Phil, who's quite proficient at stainless steel welding. It's one of my skills I don't have, to help me with the project. So first thing, we had to build a platform that mimicked the deck of the boat, and then we went down and we grabbed all of the railing off the back of the boat, and we bolted the railing together on a plank, because there's two separate pieces, one on each corner, and then brought that back on a trailer and dropped it into the platform. Then we built up the bit at the back, took some more measurements off the back of the boat to get the heights and everything right, and built a little raised bit at the back to mimic the deck of the boat. Here we are cutting out the feet for the bottom of the solar arch. These are 65mm diameter, although I did make the rear ones bigger. I made them 100mm diameter because the back of the arch has a lot more weight on it than the front. And we are using a plasma cutter here. It's just a little cheap one we bought at Aldi, and it's a bit of 3mm 316 stainless steel. These bits of wood represent the gunnels on the boat. We just took all measurements of everything and where it is so that we don't have things hitting things. These little tiny wedges represent the slope on the deck around where the feet are. Here's a disc we cut out with the plasma cutter, and the bolts. The bolts will be welded into these discs because this is what's going to anchor the whole thing down, and we can't have the bolts spinning. So we're making up a jig, and we've sort of got to get the angle and the angle of the feet right. So we're just sort of rotating the pipe around, or just getting a bit of an idea which way it's going to sit, to get it all right at the right angle. So here we are with the upper bit of the pipe. You'll notice it's got a bend on it. We went down to a steel place and had them roll a 100mm curve into that pipe. That's so that the top doesn't actually sag, or if it does sag down a little bit with the weight of the boat. These are the joiners we used. This is basically 50mm handrail, and these are the joiners that are normally used to put it together, and we use them on the side so that we can actually take the thing apart. Made it easier to transport down to the boat for a trial fitting. Here's Phil welding on the feet. Next we cut out some bits of wood, screwed them together, and then drilled holes through the middle with the hole saw. You can see on the bottom one there that I had to have a second go at it. What I found was the spacing of the bar between the vertical and the horizontal sections were different spacing, so I had to turn it over and re-drill. So these held the pipes together while we put the horizontals in. Once the thing was up, we started putting in some of the bars. Got Phil in for doing his welding there. The welder here is a TIG welder, just a small one, as a Lotos unit, a Tig200D, and it's used with argon gas. It's a fairly specialised sort of welding, not for everyone. We began welding on the davits here. It's important to keep your gaps right down to a minimum when you're putting this stuff together. Phil wanted a less than 1mm gap, and a file was the weapon of choice. You had to take off a very tiny amount to get this stuff to fit, so yes, you could use an angle grinder, but a file just seemed to do a more accurate job. Once we had it all welded on, we then found that the thing had changed shape significantly. If you look down the bar there, you can see a bend right on the weld. Didn't happen so much where the davit was because they had a weld each side. So we tried putting an extra weld on the outside to see if we can balance it up, but that didn't work. So we ended up just hitting the thing with a mallet and bending it all back into shape. Once we'd finished the welding, we had to polish up all the scorch marks off the welds, and so this is a 3M ScotchBrite pad. We got this in the end of an electric drill, but later we switched to an angle grinder for a bit higher speed. We found this was the most effective way of taking all of the burn marks and to smooth off the welds before the next stage, which is polishing the whole thing up to a fine polish. This sort of left a sort of dull finish on the pipework, but it left a pretty good base to start the next phase of polishing. The next bit was disassembling the jig and repositioning it on the other side of the vertical bar at the front. This is to make way for us to drill holes and weld the railing bars in that go between the two rails. The integrated railing was 25mm polished stainless steel. We had a bit of fun bending this. We tried a few things like a mandrel bender, but what I found the best was this cheap little bender off eBay, which we used to sort of bend the curves in the end of the railing. Now we had to drill holes for the railing. Start off with a centre punch, then a small drill bit. Very sharp drill bits required here, and good quality ones, because stainless steel is an absolute problem to drill into. Then we started going up through a step drill, just gradually taking the hole bigger and bigger and bigger, and then finally we ended up with a breaking out the big AEG with a step drill bit with the end cut off it, and took the hole right out to the very largest size. The lubricant we used was a Trefolex to try and sort of stop the drill bits burning. So we had to cut the existing handrail or the railing in half, so we are past the point of no return here. So everything we've done to date was a new fabrication, but this piece, these two centre pieces, are cut off the original railing off the boat. So they were marked and cut to length so that they fitted into holes. And then we did a big test fit of the whole thing where we put it in the jig, put all the railing in place, aligned it made sure it all looked good. The curves flowed through nicely from the side to the back, and yeah, we're pretty happy with the whole thing at this stage. You can see, if you look at the timber there, you can see an outline of the outside of the boat. We had that marked down on the board there, so we could actually sort of align the railing up so it sort of matched the edge of the boat and the gunnels. And it's starting to look like a solar arch, so we're adding the bits on the top here for the solar panels. That's the next step, but just a quick once over the whole thing. So the material we had to make the solar panel mounts wasn't available in a high polish finish, so we had to get it in quite a dull finish. So we got stuck into it with the polishing equipment. We were trying a buffing wheel. We're still sort of trying to find out what worked. It sort of did a reasonable job, but it wasn't sort of quite up to what we wanted. But more on that later. The end pieces for the solar panels, so we put all the solar panels up and leveled them all off and worked out what height they had to be, and then made up these pieces to suit. And these were tacked onto the end of the solar panel brackets. A few more welds on the centre bits to hold the centre mounting brackets. These are sort of mounted to the horizontal bars, or the joining bars between the two on the top. And this is the end of the davits. So there was an available cap to go in the end of this pipe, so we bought those, and then we bought some 316 stainless steel chain and just cut the links off that and just welded the links onto the ends for our davit points for the pulleys. Next was the little loops to hold the wires, the Lifeline wires, onto the front of the whole solar arch, and these were basically cut off the original and then reshaped to fit the unit. And then we did a sort of a run on the solar panel, positioned everything so it was all at the right heights and the right angles and the right spacing and everything nice and square. And then just sort of tacked the solar panel brackets in place. And then we took the solar panels off and welded it all up. So there it is, with solar panels on, all more or less complete. So we had a lot of polishing to do. There was a lot of wells, a lot of sort of difficult to get through places. We had to get through and do the coarse polishing, and then once that was all done and all the wells all smoothed off, then we got into it with what we found later on was the flappy wheel, which I've got here, and the polishing compound worked out to be the best for getting the really mirror finish on the stainless steel. And we'd run over the stainless everything with this. So this followed the ScotchBrite rough polishing, and this gave us a really good mirror finish on the stainless steel. So quite happy with how that all worked out. And here it is on the boat, all mounted up without the solar panels, but we had to sort of fit the existing bimini on, and plonked it all on. And we're pretty happy with it because it all fitted really nice. And there it is. Thanks for watching.